Hi, everybody. This is Rose Slam Johnson from Nimble Roots Coaching, and I'm here with my friend Alex Fisher from A Bookkeeping Co-op. Hi, Alex.
Hello. Hi.
I'm hosting the April Money Club or monthly money meeting or money party, depending on what compels you the most to come and check out your money stuff. This April, I'll be hosting with Alex. Alex is a bookkeeper who loves budgets.
I do so much.
And if you're somebody who doesn't love budgets or wishes you love budgets or, really feels like you want to have a budget, but just budgets, this might be a cool session for you because Alex is going to give a presentation on some cool reframes on budgeting. And then we'll have Q&A. And then we're going to actually have a co-working session where you can keep working on whatever small, sweet steps you identified from your conversation with Alex. And you can actually take action on them together with all of us, with a supportive team, and I'll be there to answer any questions you have. I have a background in bookkeeping as well. But anyway, Alex has some really cool principles on budgeting. They have fallen in love with budgeting. They get teased for budgeting. And so I wanted to for loving budgeting, I wanted to give Alex the floor to share just a few principles, get a little teaser of what you might experience if you're thinking about attending. This will give you a snapshot of whether this is really for you. So Alex, please tell us, what do you love about budgets?
What don't I love about budgets? I love so much. And I think for me, I've been so currently I work at a bookkeeping co-op. I'm a member owner. We are a democratically run and managed business. And I also ran my own business for 8 years. And I also manage my family's business for me and my kid. So for me, budgets are for one person, 2 people, 10 people, hundreds of people. It's the same ideas and the same principles, just at different scales. And the one thing I love the most about a budget is if you reframe what it is really about possibility. At its heart, budgeting is about thinking about the future, thinking about what you want to do, and managing your resources, whether it's individually or collectively, managing your resources, often of money, to reach those dreams. And so the way I like to, some of the words, or if any of these work for you, this is great. This is what makes me excited, is that when I think about things like the future, unknown, planning, and resources, I might get scared. I might go into a scarcity mindset. Or I might go into abundance mindset and think, oh my gosh, what can we do together? What can I do? And with that, I like to bring in words like magic, right? Magic of the future, of us not knowing what we're doing. In my sort of world, magic is action and intention. So what am I intending to do in the future, and how do I bring it into action? So budget can be a way of bringing that into being. The world of sort of science fiction writing or speculative fiction of like, if we write it, can we make it happen? And so if we write our story for the next year, the next 18 months, maybe a 5-year plan, I don't know. Is it more likely that we're going to bring it into being? And how do we, with that, make sure that it's our values that are leading what we're doing, right? So how do we make sure that like the world we want to see and the people that we want to be and the things we want to do are really driving us forward? And so those are just some of the things that I'm like, if we reframed a budget from how a lot of us are taught, right? And so when I think about how I was taught of what a budget is, it really came from this extremely capitalist, extremely scarcity mindset that works for a top-down organization, right? Say you're a giant corporation and you want to just squeeze as much profit as you can out of thousands of workers and hundreds of departments across the world. You're going to tell everyone what they can and can't do, right? And so in those models, we have people that are making decisions on how resources are allocated. And then we have a different group of people who are implementing those decisions and are restricted in what they can do based off of what someone else says, right? And this is like racialized capitalism at its best, at its worst, all the power dynamics, all of the extraction coming out. So if we take that model and put it to the side and say, no, thank you. What do we want to do? And for me, this is where, right, coming from co-ops and coming from places of shared power, how do we make sure the folks making the decisions and the folks implementing are the same? And so that means if that's you, right, if you're one person, how do you make sure that you're making decisions that you want to implement? If you are a group, how do you make sure everyone is having a say in what those decisions are and implementing them, right? And so some of that is changing the way that we do our budgeting process. It means bringing more people in at different times. We'll go through kind of what are ways and what are places where you can kind of interrupt that sort of top-down method. How do we interrupt that? Where are ways that we can actually change our process? And then what we are our results are like a document or a tool that holds us accountable to the decisions we made. If as a group, we're like, okay, this year we want to focus on increased accessibility to all of our Zoom events. We are going to make sure that we have ASL interpreters at every event. We're going to put that in our budget. And then halfway through the year, someone's like, hey, we never spent that money. You're like, oh, we didn't do the thing that we said we were going to do. And it can hold us accountable to make sure we put our values front and center and we do the things we're going to do. It's amazing. And then the third thing that we'll talk about next week is how do you know that you made a good budget, right? So there's a lot out there on like, well, when you make a budget, do this and look at these numbers, don't forget this category. But how do you know that it's going to work for your needs and for your goals? So we'll talk about some of the reflection questions that we use at ABC, both internally in our organization and also with clients, with individuals of, now that I went through all of this work, I reframed how I think about budgets. I sat down and made this document. Like, how do I know that when I implement it, it's going to meet my needs? So that is what we are going to get into and hopefully have a lot of fun in the process. Hopefully sort of open our minds from budgets as restrictive to budgets as sources of possibility and collective power sharing and resource management. So that is why I just love budgets. And you don't have to love them, but maybe you like kind of sort of maybe want to make one now. Maybe.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Alex. It got me thinking like, wow, this relates to my partnership. This relates to my business, my personal finance, this team that I'm on. This really matters. And even just like hearing that little bit got my sparks going. So thank you so much.
Oh yeah.
For sharing that. If you like that, if you're at home and you're thinking, wow, this is a way I would like to reset my money mindset and really get into having an empowered budget of speculative fiction. If you like speculative fiction, like I think Alex and I both do,
I do.
this might be for you. And it's April 15th, 9 a.m. Pacific time. The website is bit.ly/moneyclub4. It will be April, that's April 2022, just to like make sure this video when it's discovered in the archive, people are like, yes, we now know the year that it was filmed.
Here's
and budgets. What's that?
Here's our date stamp for how we currently think about budgets.
Yes, and may it have influenced into the wild future. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. My friend Wendy always teases me for saying thank you guys when it's one person. So thank you for listening. And thank you for Alex for being here to talk with me and anybody that's out there listening. See you all on April 15th.